My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. It's been a long day and we've just about got through 100 overs of one-day international cricket. Lots and lots of runs scored at the Sydney Cricket Ground, but the home side emerging victorious by 66 runs, a commanding victory. And for much of the game, it was going to be a foregone conclusion once Australia put that sort of a score on the board. 374 for 6. And despite Hardik Pandya, 90 of 76, Shikhar Dhawan kept him company for the longest time. When those two were there, well, India looked like they had a bit of a sniff. With 20 overs to go, 166 in a T20 context looked very gettable. But with 4 wickets down, you can't always make that comparison. I'm in the company of Michael Vaughan and Zaheer Khan, just to look back at a performance where we've assessed a lot of things, including India's body language in the field. They improved with the bat in hand. Overall, Zaheer, if you had to pinpoint it, Australia were certainly the better team, but in some respects, the better of two evils.
Well, I think it was a mixed day for both the teams. That there are some positives to take, but also some concerns with regard to both the teams. Stoinis's injury is one of them. We've been talking about the all-round balance, which India didn't have, but looks like going forward, Australia also might not have that in this ODI series. So they'll have to find that answer there. But I think fielding, was a letdown by both the sides. The way Stark started the innings, kind of gave India that hope that they might be able to lay that platform. But I think it was just kind of a mixed thought process, I would say. That they were ahead of the game when they started with the bat, but they just couldn't really sustain that platform. Had it been just couple of more wickets in hand, things could have been different, and that's what Hardik Pandya and Shikhar's partnership showed actually. So that's the big positive for the Indian team. So they'll have to just focus on the positives going forward. There's hardly any time between the two games, so that is something which they'll have to go back to the drawing board very quickly and figure things out.
Yeah, it just showed how hard Australia came at the back end, Michael. Despite that comparison, we spoke in the 35th over on Combox, and you said, well, Shikhar had just got out. Had he not got out, we were probably talking about ifs and buts. But as long as they were there, they were miles ahead of the game at that stage.
Yeah, but it's the wickets that they'd lost at the top end of the innings. Chasing this kind of total, you generally get these kind of chases where you get excited for a brief period, then 1 wicket, and you kind of have your balloon kind of deflated straight away. A lot of really good stuff from India with the bat, positivity, aggression, exactly the way that you have to play against Australia. The fielding of both sides was poor. The bowling from Australia, I thought Zampa was high class. I think he's just getting better and better. They were talking about him on commentary. I think he's a reliable source now for Australia, that the captain just knows that they can throw the ball to him at any stage. I'll be very interested to see how the players shape up tomorrow, because the majority of them, they've either been playing no cricket, a little bit of Sheffield Sea cricket, or 20 over cricket, which is pretty much done and dusted in an hour and a half. Both sets of fielders and bodies have been out on that outfield for 4 hours. That's a long time. So I'll be interested to see how they wake up tomorrow, and then to go again on Sunday. That's my excuse for the players, that because they've not really been used to playing this amount of time cricket for such a long period of time, I guess concentration, a little bit of fatigue. You could see that in the outfield. That someone even like Glenn Maxwell, who's an incredible fielder, he had an iffy day. He just wasn't moving as he normally does. So we've just got to be a little bit careful. We don't criticise the fielding side of things too much, because these bodies, these minds, the fatigue side of the player, I think they'll get better and better as the series progresses. But we always talk, I'll take the positives. India 1-0 down. That's a fact. They're going to have to play a lot better on Sunday to beat this Australia team.
Well, since we had this nice bowler-batsman rivalry going, Zaheer, on Michael Vaughan's point about the tired bodies, the fast bowlers are going to be feeling it a little bit more than the others with those 10-over spells?
I think the fast bowlers are used to that. Those first few deliveries when you bowl in those warm-ups, usually there are these aches and pains which the fast bowler has to deal with. So I think, considering that, they should be used to that. Yes, the recovery will be the main focus. There is no doubt about that. There will be some extra pool session thrown in. There will be some extra stretching session. I've seen players have been doing some meditation as well, as a part of their recovery process. So I think that they will make use of these how many now? 36 hours, maybe 24 hours. So they'll make sure that they utilize that. The physios and trainers and the masseurs will be at it to make sure that the squad is ready for the next day.
A quick word on the Australian fast bowlers. We talked a bit about the Indian fast bowlers and how they had no place to turn between Shami Saini and Jasprit Bumrah with no sixth bowler. So we've really done that topic to death. But from Australia's point of view, with Stoinis limping off, they did have an option to turn to, but Hazlewood head and shoulders above the others. Michael, you briefly mentioned it. I'll get your thoughts on him, and then we'll get Zaheer to come in on that. The short ball particularly.
Oh, he's high class. He's he's up there with the best around at this stage in world cricket. He's just got that gift to be able to run in hard. He bowls at 140 plus. I think that's the key to Josh Hazlewood's success, is when he's bowling at 140 plus, he hits that pitch and he gathers a little bit of pace off the surface. A couple of years ago, he was bowling around 135, and I just think he is that kind of bowler that his paces need to be up there. His skill level's getting better. He's producing a few different styles of slow balls now, which you require in white ball cricket, but he's dependable. I think as a captain, you throw the ball to Josh Hazlewood, you pretty much know 9 times out of 10 he's going to deliver.
Zaheer, is he the kind of bowler who you almost tend not to take into account? Because when you look at the lineup on paper, you're saying, oh, Mitchell Starc is going to open the bowling. Cummins has been doing a lot of impact in India. We know about the prices he attracted in the IPL. So does Hazlewood sometimes sort of slip under the radar?
I think he complements well to the bowling attack. When you look at the Australian bowling attack, you'll see the variety of styles in that bowling attack, and that's something which is very important. I think Josh Hazlewood is someone who provides that stability there. He keeps things very simple. He focuses on that cluster of lengths which normally he bowls at, and from there he looks to do his variations. So I think with regard to the different kind of bowlers Australian lineup has, it just fits in perfectly. Like you have someone like Pat Cummins, who usually look to hit the deck hard and works on that that back of the length or the hip high length, which normally white ball cricket it really works. And with Hazlewood, he just adds that little bit of extra swing and the cluster of lengths, which makes it hard for the batters to actually just go after him. And he uses his height very well. I mean, the sort of a bowler who reminds me of Glenn McGrath kind of a feeling. And Michael Vaughan will possibly remember, how Glenn McGrath used to just build on that length, just keep things simple, and then from there let the wicket does the rest. So it's that kind of a bowler, and his success in all forms of cricket has been just because of the consistency in length which he's been providing.
I'll let Michael respond to that. Does he remind you a little bit of Metronome McGrath?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's been likened to Glenn McGrath for a few years, but I think it's only around this last year or so that I've watched him, and he really is very close to what Glenn McGrath produced over 6 or 7 years consistently. Similar kind of pace, similar kind of height, consistency, reliable, a good person to have in your team. So unfortunately, Australia found another Glenn McGrath. It's the last thing the world game needs when you're playing against him, but exactly the kind of bowler that you want in your team.
You certainly do. But taking the positives out from Team India, I know, Michael, I'll stick with you on this one. Despite the fact that it really was almost a lost cause towards the end, that partnership between Shikhar Dhawan and Hardik Pandya, more than this game, is a huge positive they'll take out for the next game and the rest of the series.
Yeah, I mean, Shikhar was in good form in the IPL. Well, he was either a 100 or he was a 0 kind of player in the IPL, but you could see that his game was in good order. He looked balanced at the crease. We know he's got that gift through the offside, but I like the way his balance is allowing him to play on the onside as well. Hardik Pandya, I just love watching him play. I just think he is. I don't know. There's some players that just love the stage. They love the big stage. They love the crowd. They love the moment. Whether it's the IPL, playing against Australia. For all world players, it's a big stage when you go to Australia and play. And he's got a great record against Australia. So he's got the right kind of mindset to play against the aggressive style that Australia produce. I'll keep going on about it. And the Indian one-day team, the biggest concern for me, if I was an Indian selector, someone involved in the management, would be this lack of 6 bowling option. They need 6 or 7, and the lack of depth in the batting. I just don't see this formation. And I know we're a long way off from the next World Cup, but I don't see this formation winning a World Cup. With just 5 or 6 bowling options and 7 batsmen, then you're down to your bowlers. You think the IPL has been around for so many years, I would have thought that the selectors, and I'm sure there's lots of talented players out there that could fill that kind of role that we're talking about, whether it's a couple in the top 6 that can bowl, another all-rounder, once Hardicks that kind of bowl, and then you get 6 or 7 bowling options. I just wonder if they can look at the structure of the team as much as anything to give themselves an even better chance of winning another World Cup in Indian conditions. Because I just don't see, as we speak, the formation that they have in the team going on to win a World Cup.
Very good point, because India, we talked about this entire ODI schedule being relevant towards that World Cup, and I think it'll be important. Even though India have qualified as hosts, they'll still be waiting and watching to try and see their best combinations. A little bit on Hardik Pandya. You know him well as a personality. Today already he's proved that he can hold his own purely as a batsman, even when he's not bowling, though we'd like him to bowl. But how frustrated would he be as a character that he's not being able to contribute with the ball?
Well, he's very keen on bowling. There is no doubt about that. He understands the value he brings when he is contributing with all 3 disciplines. And he's a great energy to have on the field. With fielding also, you'll always see him very energetic, active. So that's something which he likes to do. He wants to be always in the game. So that is something which he's definitely going to be keen on doing. I think long term, that's why when you're looking at World Cup, then he should be fine with regard to bowling, and that's what team management also will be looking at him, giving him ample amount of time. Right now, he's had a back surgery, and that is something has not been easy on him. So he's just kind of getting his way into it, slowly building it. So long term wise, he'll be fine. But batting has been the biggest positive, and his strength has been the positive mindset which he brings. He's very dedicated when it to actually working towards keeping that positive mindset. You kind of at times feel that that's a natural ability of a player to have that, but he has certainly shown that you can actually work towards that by constantly having those positive thoughts, be it in the nets or how you're looking at the game, how you're thinking about the game.
He's a bit of a nuisance in the dressing room, though. Has the back surgery cut that down a little bit, curb his pranks down a little bit in the dressing room?
Not really. Fatherhood has definitely made him a bit more responsible, but apart from that, I think he's been the same what he has been.
That's what we want. We want the same old Hardik Pandya. That's how he expressed himself today with the bat, and I think everyone would agree he deserved 100. And certainly all of you who had him in your My 11 Circle teams would be rejoicing, because you had that one all-rounder slot you had to toss between a Stoinis and a Hardik Pandya. And with Stoinis' form, a lot of people went for Stoinis. I certainly know I was playing and I had my opponents who all had Stoinis. I had Hardik. A little more about that later. But in terms of all the celebrations that are going on in terms of the teams that we have from the day in our My 11 Circle selections, we're going to talk about that in a moment. But okay, here we go. We've got it up there, the My 11 Circle Ultimate Team of the Day. And you could see with Steve Smith and Aaron Finch, the kind of foundation they laid. You had to have had them as captain and vice captain. A lot of you did. And then, of course, slip in the likes of Warner, Dhawan, Rahul, Pandya. And yet again, Chase Master Kohli does not make it to that ultimate team of the day. 21 of 21 today just shows how competitive an environment it was. Lots of people had Virat Kohli as their captain because of the circumstances. But we do have a My 11 Circle champion of the day, who obviously didn't go for Virat Kohli as captain. Sanku Debnath from West Bengal. Yeah, he probably slipped in Steve Smith and made him captain and got him the 350.25 points. Just a quick one, gentlemen, to finish. Virat Kohli probably along the same lines as we spoke about, saying that, yes, the body language was not ideal when we were in the field, but I'm happy with the kind of energy and expressiveness shown with the bat, generally paraphrasing what he said, Michael.
Yeah, absolutely. And India have to take that mindset into the field. I think you've only got one option of playing in Australia in those conditions against this kind of Australian side that's very powerful, very aggressive, got all the right options. They're going to come at you, so you've got to have the mindset of going straight at them. If you just sit back expecting something to happen, you'll get trodden on in Australia. You've really got to be on the front foot, being aggressive with the bat, being aggressive with the field that you set, the kind of mindset that you take out into the field. And I think one of the key areas for India to have success will be targeting those first 10 overs in the field to go for wickets. It might be that they have to risk a few more runs to get a couple of wickets by being a bit more risky in terms of their field setting, maybe thinking outside of the box. But I really do believe in those first 10 overs, if you come out and get 2 or 3 wickets against Australia, you set the tone for the day. If you allow that Finch and Warner partnership to create that foundation, I think this series will only go one way. So more aggression in the field for India, a little bit more inventiveness from the skipper himself, Virat Kohli, and I think India can bounce back.
Well, they've got not too long to do before they sort all this out. At least it's not 48 hours. It is 72 hours. That's where we're looking ahead to the second ODI. Well, it's actually 36 hours if you count it from the end of the match to the start of the next game. So we get those calculations right, because it's pretty late at night in Australia.
Yeah, I was right.
You were, of course you were. It's past midnight, almost past midnight, I think, in Sydney by now. Yeah. And it won't be very long before they all gather at the Sydney Cricket Ground on Sunday to pick up on that next game. Yes, it is. In fact, it's Friday. Why was I thinking it's Thursday? It's me who's losing it. It's me who's losing the plot. Guys, right. So we're talking about 36 hours to go, and any changes. Let's look at that first, Zaheer Khan, from the Indian point of view. Yes, you've had a heavy loss, 66 runs, but are there things you just want to put right within the 11, or you see any possibility? That sixth bowler, can we find one now?
Unless there is a forced change. I mean, yes, in theory, we've been talking about the sixth bowler, but that's not the option available right now with the team. That's one thing they'll have to live by. So they'll have to find solutions within the playing 11 which they've had, and there's hardly any time between the two matches. So I think what more you can do. You just have to have that mental adjustment. You just have to figure out what you could have done differently. Tactically, I think that's something must happen. I would like to see some change of angles from the bowlers. Trying to find some other ways. Don't give them the predictable stuff. These days with the technology, everyone is studying, everyone is trying to stay a step ahead of you. So that is something which is going to be very important from bowlers. So rather than hoping and waiting for things to happen, you have to be ahead of the game. And that is something which I would like to see from the next game. As far as batting is concerned, it's just a little bit of fine tuning in terms of choosing the right options. And understanding, when you're ahead of the game and when you have to be aggressive. So you have to find that right balance, and things should take care of itself. So the good thing from this game is that it was a mixed day for both the teams. So that is how you should look at the game. Things have not gone too far out of the hand. So that is something should be the lookout and stay in that zone.
Yeah, big difference, Michael, from 308 versus being 170 all out, which you could easily be when you see 374 up against you.
Yeah, I mean, I thought India were pretty good with the bat in hand. They got close, they got us excited. We thought we were in for an all-time classic at one stage, but it's such a hard total to chase down. You lose a couple of wickets, you have a few quiet overs, and all of a sudden the rate goes beyond 12, and it's just not possible with the wickets that you'd lost. So India will know that they've got to improve. They'll know that they've got to be a bit more active in the field. They've got to take the chances. Again, in Australia against the high-class teams, you have to take your chances. If you get an opportunity to run out Aaron Finch early, you've got to run him out. If you get an opportunity to catch one of the plate, you've got to take that catch. So Virat, I'm sure, will just say to his team, look, we were 60%. if we can get our level, it's very difficult to get to 100%, but if you can get it to 90%, 85, 90%, going to be very, very competitive in Australian conditions. So I wouldn't say they were far off with the bat. They were quite close with the bat in hand. I thought they were around 50% with the ball and in the field. So lots of improvement in the field and with the ball in hand. Just a little bit of tinkering with their kind of thought process with the bat in hand.
Yeah, Michael, I'll stay with you on Australia, because we just showed you Team India and we said, could they find that 6 bowling option? Zaheer Khan was very clear. Well, we'd love to. Not available at the moment. We showed you the squad. Not available at the moment. So live with what you have. Australia, on the other hand, if they did have that problem with, say, someone like Marcus Stoinis going out, look at the amount of options they do have in their lineup. So no such problems for them. But other than Marcus Stoinis, which seems like an obvious replacement, any more changes do you see from the winning combination?
Well, I just wonder whether they'll go with Cameron Green, the young all-rounder from Western Australia. He's a tremendous talent. He's done great in domestic cricket. He's got a couple of centuries already. He bowls at around 145 kilometres an hour. They are eyeing him up for a test place. Potentially, he may play against India. He may not, but there's talk that him and Pekoski could come in for the test series. I know they've certainly got him penciled in potentially to play in the Ashes in a year's time. I personally will go with Cameron Green for Stoinis. I think Moses Henriques is a good cricketer, but I just think you get opportunities sometimes to play a young kid and things happen for a reason, and Stoinis getting this little niggle now. Maybe it's just the reason to bring in a young player like Cameron Green to fill that role. They've got Glenn Maxwell's overs, so he won't be required to bowl the 10 overs, but if you can get a young player into a series like this on the back of a decent win, I would be going for that option if I was Australia.
Zaheer, Justin Langer's hinted at perhaps rotating bowlers as the summer progresses. A, are you a fan of that, if you were sort of playing the bowling mentor's role? And B, if they do go for it, where do you reckon they'd start rotation from?
Well, I've always believed that it's pretty much has to be individual score. I personally have always endorsed, playing more and more matches has always worked for me. I much rather bowl in a match scenario than go bowl in the next, just to keep my rhythm going. And you're talking about a pandemic year. I mean, that there's not been cricket for 9 months. So I don't see the rotation policies should come into play, especially in this year, since there's no not